Zoom on this one. Get caption. So on here. Okay, so we're gonna do a lab using ProDiscover, right? So first, you're gonna take the drive that's given that we have the black drive here, or the drive with the black cover. We're gonna plug it in. Then you're gonna go to this PC, find your Toshiba drive, right? We're gonna go ahead and copy this. I'm gonna do that because I deleted the last one. Copy it and put it onto your desktop or drag it to your desktop. And that's gonna take approximately a few minutes. Mine says 2 minutes, but it might not all be real time. While that's doing that, we are going to kind of talk a little bit about ProDiscover. You are also going to need a little small USB 128 meg drive. You can find that in the cardboard box. They're all the same. I try to copy all the files super early in the morning, so if I miss anything, let me know. Okay, ProDiscover Forensic is a toolkit that you can get. You can find this on the download. If you need it, let me know. It's a little harder to find now. It is user friendly. It's able to allow you to pull data sets. ProDiscover is made for Windows, but I think there's a version for Linux. So it's ideal if you are using a Windows system for analysis. And in this case, we're going to analyze a Windows image as well. Okay, so plug in your USB, copy the CIS27A forensic folder onto your desktop. You're going to run the virtual machine there. So I'm almost done here. I have about 60 seconds remaining. So once I have done copying the folder, I'm going to open it. I'm going to open it through the app. I'm going to add the VirtualBox file to my app. And so that way it will load it on the playlist. And then I just want to make sure that I can enable USB. Make sure you do step 6. Do not forget. Okay. You can always mount the USB later. We've done this in the first lab. We've done this another time, right? When we transfer the data in the last lab. So we're gonna add the USB. Make sure that you add the generic USB. It might show up as a generic USB. And then you can do it while it's on or before you start the virtual machine. I don't think USB configuration or setting needs to be changed before you start. And then you're going to log in, right? It's going to take, and I think I put the p15.zip file, which contains the image that we're working with on your downloads folder. So hopefully you'll be able to find that there. I also shared this on my Google Drive, I believe. Okay. Okay, so I have copied everything over to my desktop, my virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and call up VirtualBox. So type in virtual to open up the app and click the app to open. And right now I am doing step 5. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I am going to add my VirtualBox into my playlist so I can start it. So I'm going to click add. And I'm going to go to my desktop where I had copied my virtual machine. So click desktop on the left, find my virtual machine folder, double click, open up the subfolder, and then I would find the blue icon file. So this is my .vbox file. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and then click open. So again, open up your VirtualBox app, click add, navigate to your desktop, find your copied folder for your virtual machine, open that up, open up the subfolder and select the blue icon file, which is your VirtualBox file, and click open. And so make sure that you select the forensic virtual machine, which you just added, and click start. Now, if you want to change your settings for your USB, you can do that after it starts or before. I'll do that after it starts so you can see, because I just forgot. But if you do step 6, it walks you through on how to do that. Now at home, if you run this, in order to add USB, you need to make sure you install the extension pack from Oracle with your VirtualBox. So if you install VirtualBox and you don't have extension pack, likely that you won't be able to add to mount your USB to your software. So you need to install extension pack, restart your computer, and then you can change the setting for number 6. Okay, so as my virtual machine's starting, I can go to devices right here, or you can also go to settings under machines, same thing, but let's do that. Machine under settings, and you would see USB. So click machine, settings, and then USB. And now by default, the way that they install the software here, they already selected 3.0. That's fine. It works backward with 2.0. But if you can select it before you start, that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and click the add button. And then I should be able to see a generic UDISC if I plug in my small black USB, right? If you don't have it plugged in, you will not see the generic UDISC, okay? So plug it in before you click settings. Okay. So plug it in and then select generic UDISC and then click OK. So you can double check to see if your USB is mounted by clicking device, USB, and you need to make sure that you check this, right? Okay, so even if you change the setting, you still have to click devices, USB, and select general UDISC, because the software, just how it works, right? You can set it, but now you're gonna click it to enable it, okay? So devices, USB, right? And select general UDISC, okay? Make sure that once you check it or select it, you see a little check mark there. So you can set your USB to mount, but in order to enable it, it's under the device menu for VirtualBox. Okay, so if your USB doesn't show up inside your virtual machine, it's because you did not enable it under USB option under devices. So make sure general UDISC is selected. Okay, so once my virtual machine has loaded, I'm gonna go ahead and click on it, and then I'm gonna log in. So our login today is just CIS27A all caps, right? So I made this VM and I had installed some of the general program for you to use in this class. We're going to use Autopsy later down the line. Okay. Let me see if it's under downloads here. So under downloads, oh, is it not? I don't think I put your stuff on here. Let me double check. Oh, I did put it over here. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring it in through our Toshiba drive, just like what you did last time. So we're gonna, I don't know. I thought I had put, let me double check. Maybe I put it on the other folder. Maybe not. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and go to Canvas. You're gonna download p15.zip. This is the image that you need for the lab. Okay, so click see the link above the video. You're gonna click it, download. And then I wanna go ahead and save this to my Toshiba drive, right? The school drive that you used for your virtual machine transfer. So it's gonna go into the downloads, right? I'm gonna take that zip folder and I'm gonna throw it onto the Toshiba drive. So I'm gonna right click, copy, and then put it onto the Toshiba drive. Okay. And then what we'll do is we are gonna mount the Toshiba drive so we can bring it inside the VM. I apologize. I should have checked this a little bit better. But again, go to your Canvas assignment page, download the p15.zip. Once you have downloaded, it's under your downloads folder, right? And you can just copy or drag it to the Toshiba drive that you're using for the VM transfer. So once I do that, now I gotta add the Toshiba drive, right? So go back to your VirtualBox and click Devices, USB, and then check the Toshiba drive. Okay. So again, download the p15.zip from your Canvas page, save it to the Toshiba drive or copy it over to the Toshiba drive from the downloads folder. Then what you're going to do is you are going to mount the Toshiba drive by going back to VirtualBox app, click Devices, USB, and select Toshiba drive. You can select multiple USB. That's okay, right? See how I have the U disk, which is the 128 megabyte, and then the Toshiba drive. Now, once I have the Toshiba drive mounted, I'm going to go ahead and open up File Explorer, go to the Toshiba drive that I see here, and then drag the P15 to my desktop. Just like what we did last time to transfer our files that we got from Canvas, right? So I have it on the Toshiba drive. I mounted the Toshiba drive so I can access it in my virtual machine. And then I just drag it to my desktop. Remember that this image is compressed, so you have to extract it, just like last time, okay? So you're gonna right-click the P15 file and choose Extract All. So it is a DD image, right? So the image that you're going to access is in the extracted folder, not the compressed folder that you have downloaded and transferred. Remember that, okay? So again, we extract the P15 and it shows up with this folder right here. This is where this is where ProDiscover is going to get our image. Okay. Any question? Yes. You can, what you can do is you can open up Edge right there. How to log into. Oh, because you mounted it inside. Yeah. So that's what the device will go to USB. And then I'll check those. Oh, really? So is it not without USB? Oh, you can only see the USB, right? Yeah. Where's your people? Where it's like on documents, downloads. There, okay, so copy that. Right click.
I intend to use.
Okay, then you paste it.
Calling do one have some.
Yeah, you have to.
Some stuff is.
You always see that.
So I have to copy it.
And what it is it's only the Toshiba that's not able to map what is to go. Okay, I'll paste it to that. Space there. Yeah, and then now mount it back, so that's where you can do that, okay? Yeah, the only difference is that you have the extra file there, but that's it. You're not supposed to do that on the. Yeah. Right click. Remove. So whenever you see the logs, you put it on the document. When you see it like this, it's trying to move up to the last state, and the last state put a fail. So one, we need to delete the last. So second, we need to logs. Because it will remove everything. Transfer it, the logs like that, and somebody is run on the back, so that's what happens, is it's trying to go to that instant like it's last used, but your computer have your it's there, so it's actually right. So this is why we have to copy. We have this snapshot right there. Something like how to and just simply open the new transfer on the desktop. Other questions? Okay, so once we have the P15 extracted. Right, we are gonna open up the ProDiscover app. So I already have my extraction. I'm gonna go ahead and double click the icon, or you can search for the app. This computer open. Show you. Like 4 files, 6 files. Plug this in, so we're gonna transfer that. Okay, go ahead and log. Which one? These all the things they can be done over. We're not gonna use this one. This one was the with the virus. Okay. Just what I didn't want. So you need to recopy. That's probably why it's not right. So, we'll just retract this onto your desktop. When it's done, we should have 2 files, orange and blue. And then once you have the blue files, just double click it. So once you have it loaded the desktop and log in, then we can map the. Yeah, and then don't do it through the setting, do it through devices, so that's better, okay? Okay,
Is it now? It's not showing. But
yeah, so did you download it on the host computer on the outside? Okay, that's the host computer, right? Cancel.
But also, I still need to delete files. This thing.
Okay. Okay, so where's your P15? Where's your P15 that's it on the outside computer, correct? Where did you, the P15 that's it, that's what you're trying to locate, right? Did you download it on the outside computer? I just saw it. Yeah, you downloaded already, right?
Yeah.
So open up the file explorer on the host computer. There. Okay, there's your P15, okay? We need to bring it on the inside computer and we're gonna transfer it through USB. So we're gonna,
So now the was it?
okay, where's your Toshiba?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay, we'll just use this. We just need to
Oh,
transfer.
this one, what if delete it?
It's fine, we'll just need it to transfer. Okay. Give it a second. Okay, now drag the P15 to your Toshiba. It's there. I think there's a P15 one. Click on Toshiba. Yeah, there's one already. So we just need to map your Toshiba. So the whole point is you download it, put it on a drive, and then transfer it, right?
Right.
Okay, so now on your virtual machine, you need to map the Toshiba. Correct. Okay, now it sees it. So open the file explorer on the virtual machine. And then go to Toshiba. And then drag it to your desktop. There you go. Okay.
That was the issue, okay, so.
So now you need to extract the P15 file there. Inside. Other questions? Did you transfer it to your desktop? Are you running it from the drive? You're not supposed to.
If you can virtual, not virtual machine, B15 something, didn't change. Yeah, it says the same. And probably a van, it's been a long time, but it's not done.
Oh, yeah, you have to see, we'll just put it on, not supposed. We just need to do that. Downstairs. Is that one or not? But that, I don't know why the mask so much.
Why don't you copy the scene?
So realistically, this.
Yeah.
I'll be able to try.
I'm not gonna finish.
We need to extract tissue and stuff. All right, so, some of you already got pretty far, right? We got the P15 transferred and extracted. We open up the app. So the ProDiscover, you're gonna see most of the Forensic Toolkit app is gonna start you with filling out some general information for reporting purposes. So you are going to put in your project number. Right? And this is my first project, so I wanted to put in the first number, but you can label it. So I have you guys put in 015 for the P15. Did that work?
No, still.
And then you fill out the description for the project. It was loading earlier. What happened? It just restarted? Have to try a different view disk.
Try this one.
Go ahead. Awesome. Okay, so while you're doing that, let me fill this out and then I'll come to help you. Okay, so we're gonna type in our project name, Windows. And you might experience some lag, and that's typical with VM. So we're gonna put in the information about our project, and then you're gonna navigate to the extracted image file, which you have transferred through your USB. And then be able to do that. All right. Always one. So this one was the malware, not. Okay, so the problem is someone also ran this on, yeah. So, I'll just do that. Okay, so you see all of these right? So what we're gonna do is we just need to look the state. It's probably why it's crashing basically as a virus. So you need to log the state of it, just like that. So just. Then we want only. It's possible that it sees the traffic, here, not that file who's last one. And that one isn't that, so. You might. Yeah, the RCCD system is designed that way, where if it sees a threat, then it's just gonna shut it down. Okay, so we're just gonna start with a clean machine. And then, so once this transfer, you just use your desktop right here. Yeah, double click the Google file and it will load your app and everything. Other questions? Well, computer speed. So you have to put USB to speed. Because you want to open the storage here, that's the USB. Yeah, click the plus, and then this is the general that's. But you still have to do it with devices of time. So you simply add it to the list, but you have to use. So click OK, and then go to devices right here, USB, select it. So simply, when you add the USB to the list, just make sure that it's on this list, and then select. So it's going to be the second one to pop up right here. Thanks, Sean. So now it's in. Okay. But you need the P15 if you think of the logo. Okay. It's under downloads. Okay. So we gotta put it onto the Toshiba drive to transfer it. So we drag it to Toshiba. And then mount it the same way you mount it. Okay. Cool. Did it go or did it? Okay, I think that should work now. Let me know if it's stuck when people's work.
That's that. Oh, also sure that.
Yeah, you need to screenshot this because it actually gives you those files. Yeah, because okay. So by practice, you don't open the file until you identify what file that is, because it could be bad files, good files, we don't know, right? When you open the file, it changes the state of the file, so you need to screenshot what kind of file you see here. And then in the future, after we looked at all the files, then we can see the content of the file, but yeah, screenshot back over. Yeah. The list of file that cart you need to find. Yeah, you have to select it, just like how you did the other one. And it's gonna show up, so now you need to open up the Toshiba drive and then transfer the P15 so pop board. Yeah, the second one. So open File Explorer in the virtual machine folder on the taskbar file. Okay. You can next, no, that's Internet Explorer, close that. Source of home. That. Second is version of the information open. You're running software on top of software. And then just drag the P15 to your desktop and right click and extract. Okay, and then the extracted folder is where you're gonna find the file for ProDiscover. Yeah, that's something that they changed on the version. Sorry, I forgot. I haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, so when you get to ProDiscover, it tells you to click all files. So the older version had the all files feature, but the newer version they did away with the interface. So software changes, right? In how they modify it so you might not see all files, but the point is to be able to locate the files. So you might get a general list of the files that it could carve out for you. Okay? Yeah. So as long as you can find your files that it carved, then you're good. So here I'm still starting with naming my project. And the best way is to be descriptive about your investigation case as much as possible. And then I wanted to put down my drive information, right? So it should say 128, or I'm sorry, 10 meg is the image that we're working with. 10 meg. I keep saying 128 because that's the next part. Hard disk partition containing active and deleted files. And then we open the software. So you always want to start with some general information about your investigation, right? So that way it adds that to your report. So once I have the software opens, what I'll do is I need to do the next step. Did it work?
I try it, no.
Having on this one and the other.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that would be a B.
Oh.
But you said you switch seats and it's still nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, no, this is good. Sure. Go. Other questions? Okay, let me know how it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's feeling?
I was before.
Oh, okay. Was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's shaking.
it's on this one?
Yeah.
On a different drive? Or
This is it.
okay.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, you're feeling stuff. When I stopped sharing. That's why I'm like, why am I the sharing classroom with people and stuff on things so fun.
Yeah.
Why do you check on that? I'll give you my drive. I'll figure out the other drive wires. Log in here and so.
Question? Very quick question. So, and the clown one is depends on its last and the last.
Yeah, so that means that it's there, right? Yeah, active files are files that can carve, that's not deleted.
Okay, question. This is.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I'll see if I can fix the drive. If you are running into drive problems, let me know. Uh-huh. Yeah, so active files are files that I can carve from the system that is in the current allocated partitions, right? And then you have some files that have been deleted, right? Those are in the slack space, and it would actually color code all of them. So you're gonna see when you get to the step where it tells you to look for a specific file. Okay. You're not supposed to open the file, so based on the instruction, whatever you have. You extracted the file? Okay, and then what does it say next? Yes, so you have to open it from that. Is it your profile that's doing it? Because that's the same machine that I'm using. So it cannot be. Have we tested all the different? Maybe it's something with your accounts. Which is interesting. Did you test it on this computer?
Yeah, that's the one I first.
Whenever, so it only when you run the VM that it does that.
Yeah, I did log in twice.
You weren't here for my Monday class too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
Log in twice. Then track over.
Oh, okay. So. Just double check the. And this is. Yeah, it's the same one we use it. So let's see. That needs to restart. Stop the phone. I know you stuck. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why it's happened. Like someone did something to your profile. Let's try this. I'll see if we can run it. Yes, we can. If we can, then we're gonna use guessing how to log in, scan the sliding system, it will work steps. I'll transfer on favorites. So you mean it's your sheet right now?
Just check that.
Yeah. Just plug, unplug. It could be that maybe it's security event where it's solid transfer multiple base and then it's just stop something. Cause I've seen that happen when student did something that violate their security policy, it just be system, but mostly on the chassis. No, I think that, you can still use your regular account. It's just maybe it has to do with like your performance tab. Maybe your account, maybe it's not running. We'll see next week. That, where we have to do some. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. It would probably be always has to exist. I don't. So we'll see if it's happening, which I guess it happened. Then it comes to the hardware. But you test it with multiple drives. This is the same drive that Z. So I think it has to do with information. So we're not going to do USB settings first, which is going to run the in. And then inside to those tend to, because it uses the Google to log. So something and they might see that as a thread, not a threat, but a thread coming through as a process. Not the same as. Well, that, your account. There, it's, I think potentially over the weekend, right, it might set. Yeah, so it adds it fine, right? I can unmount the information tab. To allow. So now, yeah, silence. Okay, so. So you started. All you have to do is. Send you a lab. I can print it. Let me print it. And when you do the screenshot, just save it and then, maybe like put it on your personal USB. And that way, obviously, yeah, you won't see the all files menu. Sorry, that was in the last version, and they did away with that button or that option. So you just need to look at your files. Okay, sorry. We're just gonna load. Where's my DD file? Did I not extract it? Hold on a second. I'm backtracking a little bit, sorry. So when you get to the all file step, right, there won't be an all file button for you to click, because they did away with that option on the software for the version we're using. Okay, so the next step I did was I am adding the image, which is in DD file, right? And this was extracted from the p15.zip. I simply click add, right? And the steps tell you can do that through the action or add, but you can also find the add button or the add option right here. And then I just select image file and I navigate to the DD. I click open. So it should be already loaded in. And then what I'm going to do is you can also select content view to expand the images and see. So here's my content, and then expand the images, and then it will tell you the path right here, right? And you can click the plus sign to expand. And on the image, it's going to give me all of this. So you don't have the options like some of the older versions, but you would be able to see your files that are carved. Okay. Now, if you see the extend with the $sign in the front, right? We talked about that today. You can look up the system information and it should tell you the NTFS, the recycle bin, anything that's been putting into the trash can or deleted. But in the ProDiscover, it's also going to categorize the deleted files. So we can go through that right here, right? Extend. You can see that there. Sometimes if you certain content, you should be able to preview here. Sometimes it doesn't. Your recycle bin, this is the trash can from that computer, right? So the image that we're working with is a Windows system. And so you would see all the Windows component that you see there. Your system volume information. And you should be able to look at like when it was created, when it was modified. So in forensic, this information is important because it will pertain to your system changes, right? And so we would also need to navigate to the right side to look at. And then on the upper right, when you look at the root drive, which is the C drive where the OS for that system exists, you would be able to see the file extension. So if we expand on the content, right, on the C drive. Now at the bottom, the files that are carved, you're going to see them in black font. So you have Bill of Rights. Now, if don't double click the file until you have this information, because if in the image itself, you can actually view the content of the file through the software. But remember that if you open up certain files, it changes the state of that file. So you can select multiple files, right? And you can move it into a certain folder for later look at. Okay, so as we looked on the bottom, you should see the active files that are not deleted, right? How many active files that are found. So you should be able to, so the system files, as you see, or the system information, the data that it pulls, it would have the $sign in the front, right? As you see, like there is some volume information. Your active files are the ones in the black font right here that it carved out. So Bill of Rights, your images, and puppy. Okay. And then take a screenshot of what you see there, very similar to what I had screenshot for you. Okay. And then on the upper right pane of ProDiscover, you're going to double click the images. So we're going to double click the images.jpg. And you should be able to see what that image would entail, right? But what you would also get is it pulls the meta information. You can also find the property. So as you click it, you would see the raw content of the file, what the system sees right here.
Yeah.
And when you double click it, photo viewer, or what you see in the newer version of the Windows, that's like your app, your photo apps is going to open up. The image viewer, it's going to open up and you see the image of that little baby kitten. So how can we tell the size of the file? It tells you that here. And the software pulls this. We don't have the specific hex, right? It doesn't emulate all of that for us, but it tells you the file size. From the low level, it's able to pull that. And then you can check the puppy image, right? It's going to open that up, and then also you can right click and then click gallery view. So if I want to view an image, I can also right click and I can choose on how I want to view it. So if I wanted to open it in gallery view, right, it's actually opening up some of the icons like this, and it shows me, it gives you the preview of the picture, very much like your phone gallery, right? So it shows you the preview of the picture. And so you can see it that way instead of opening actually the file itself, right? So the gallery view allows you to preview the file if it's an image file. That's the whole point in that step. Like this, okay? Now you can go to look at the deleted files. So on the left, if you click deleted files, you would see this is where it carved out the files from recycle bin or the Slack space. And you would see there are a couple of the files. So if I'm in the gallery view still, I'm able to preview one of the image. And so how many files are shown? So you have a document that's a docx, and you would have an image, which is a smoking gun there. However, if you try to open docx, it's going to default to Notepad or WordPad, I'm sorry, which is what Windows come with, but not necessarily, you know, so sometime a document type of file is going to default to whatever the application that you use for that system for analysis. So take a screenshot how many files are shown. So when you get to step 28, you can just ignore it. There's no all files, okay? So I'm just going to read it out. Don't have to worry about step 28. You just need to look at, so double click on the document, take a screenshot. Okay, so I can double click it. It's going to open up the manifesto. And because of the encoding from Word into WordPad, you're going to see that it converts mostly. So you're going to have some symbol that did not translate well, some symbols it takes. So you should be able to see the content of that document, right? So all files, now the selected files, when I double click that, it shows me back to the bills of right. There's no more all files button. Okay, so to go back to the files itself, right? If you go back to the C drive, and you can change your view back to content view. Actually, we can, if you want to look at what the disk look like, you can also do cluster view and then disk. Or maybe this one, it doesn't do it. Yeah, some option for this tool is pretty cool. You can also add things to registry viewer, which we'll talk about later, or event log, or find things on the internet if your system is connected to the internet, right? So ultimately, if you want to know how many files, let me see if it's able to give you. Yeah, the best way to answer that without having the all files option, you can also find the view report option, which is what we see later on. So the report, it actually tells you like specifically how many sectors, how many clusters on that image, it pulls all of that for you. And as you scroll down, maybe it will also give you file information, or maybe not. Yeah, so we can probably. Yeah, it doesn't have that option, so you won't be able to answer everything unless you want to count everything up. Let me see. So we can disregard that 29. So we can look at cluster view, right? Click view. You can go to cluster view and it tells you on the next step, step 30 and 31, 32. You can click on the plus sign and expand images. So go to image. And on your image is actually for this, we expanded it. So so under cluster view here, expand images. So each of the view is going to give you a list. So if you're using cluster view, expand images and keep going and click on C. So this is what the book was trying to show you earlier, or the text, my notes, right? So the cluster view actually shows you how that would look like on the disk cluster. Again, right? I have to go to the cluster section, click on images, expand C, and then go to C drive to see the cluster. And the cluster view is below, right? So when I click view cluster, this is going to show up and I can expand this right here. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you are going to click on put your cursor and click on sector 0. Remember we talked about that, right? And sector 0, and if you look at the bottom, there's NTFS information, so it tells you the file system that it uses. And sector 0 is going to be where your boot sector is going to be. So for the cluster 0, and then on your keyboard, you're going to use the right arrow key and move you to the next cluster. So you're going to start with the first cluster, and then you're going to move right. As you move right, look at the lower panel to see your addresses, right? So this cluster have this many addresses to store, whereas the first cluster, right, the 0, right, it has what? Your boot sector information, a little bit of your file system. That's what you see here, right? Your system information is stored on the first cluster. So you see that on the top left. And if you move right, the whole point is to show you how to navigate through your cluster, right? So that's the next step right here.
So what's the value of that? I'm not sure how to understand that question. Am I looking at, so when it's 0, is
so, okay. The address.
Yeah, what's that small value? What has the small value?
So on the okay, so you notice on the right hand side, so once you're in that, you move to the cluster 1, view the first value of the first line on the lower pane. So your address is this one.
So it's 08. Like if I turn the first 4 to hex at 0 and then the last 4 is 8, so it's 08.
What do you mean 08?
Well, I mean, how would I calculate it in decimal?
Okay, so view the value of the first line on it's in hexadecimal already. This right here is our hex value.
Yeah, the B9 is hexadecimal. So
right.
Is that the value that we're?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so you're gonna record B9, right, for the first. But if you move back to cluster 0, let's go back over here and click it. Yeah, EB, right? And your book, it talks about EB, what EB really means for that first cluster. So, or your notes. So if you look at cluster 1, to answer that question, you would see that this is B9, right? For the first address, which is the 1000. And subsequently, you see that the offset or the increment, it's gonna increment by by 10, right? So you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. And then it's gonna change to A, B, C, D, E, F, because there's only 0 through 9 for the hex, right? So when it reaches here, it's gonna become A through F, right? So it's gonna increment sequentially. When you look, that's actually, we see it as 10, but it's actually one hex value in subsequent address. Okay.
Convert that, it's gonna be 185.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to plug the value into your programmer calculator, right? If you open up your calculator and if you change the mode to programming mode or programmer mode, you can select hex and you can punch in, what is it, B9, right? It's going to give you the decimal value, which is 185. Or, you would see that as a binary value. This is the binary value. So a B9 is equivalent to 185 in our counting number, our decimal number, or this binary value. Okay. So that 185 represents your cluster size in bytes, right? So if you punch in so I open up my calculator, I search for it. I open up and I select the ellipse at the top. I would select programmer, click on hex, go back to my application and check, right? This is the B9 because that's for the first cluster 1. So not the first cluster, but the second cluster, cluster 1. And the first address, the hex value here is B9. So you type that in. So select hex, type in B9, and you see the decimal value, which is 185. So that represents 185 bytes. Okay. So that will be the size of your cluster, 185 bytes. So these clusters are actually sectors, and it tells you the direct physical level that we're using. The disk doesn't really have clusters. It actually have sectors, right? Those are represented as little section on the track that you saw in the picture. So we're going to click to the first rectangle again for the cluster 0. So every time you click, it moves the red, right, to that cluster. And we can look at the master group record, right? So we are going to look at to see if there's any kind of text indicator. Usually that will be some kind of prompt or error message. Okay, so we're going to move back to sector 0 and see if you can find any kind of error information for that. You have to keep scrolling down. You see it right here? You have to look for it. So the trick in forensic is you have to be very detail oriented and focus on some of the things you specifically need to find, right? So you got to keep looking until you find some information there about the error and put down the message. So yes, there is an error. And then what we're going to do is on the cluster view, you're going to expand C again, right? So same thing, you're already there. You selected cluster 0 in the last step, right? And then what you want to do is you want to look at the starting address. So my whole point in this, so scroll back up after you did the last step. So your first address because it's cluster 0, it's all 0, right? Whereas if you select cluster 1, it's 0. It's the first bytes is going to be 0, and then subsequently it's going to be 1 0 0. And you would see that with 2, with 3, with 4. So as you move across to different cluster, you would see that it is directly related to the first address of that cluster, right? That's how it's able to indicate. So cluster 0 is going to have all 0 for the beginning address. And it's subsequently for the second bit, it's going to increment by 1 in hex. Okay. All right, so it tells you here that this address is relative to the start of the C partition, is not the same as the physical sector 0. It contains the MBR. The green clusters are use, right? So when you see the color code green, that means that it is use. It contains active data. That means that there are files for system and user. The blue clusters are unused. This is containing latent data, and that could also be deleted or unallocated space. So on your keyboard, we are going to move to the next cluster, cluster 1. We're going to look at the value on the first line on the lower right pane. You already saw this before when you did the conversion, so it's like, yeah. Well, we punch in to calculate. Sorry, 41 and 42, you guys already did. So you can skip those. Yeah. We can read out those. And then but from that step, so I need you to get to cluster 1, right? Click on cluster 1 and you would see B9 right here. So if you look at the next step, it says move to the right a few more times where you need to see the pattern 4 kilobyte of a typical size in an NTFS partition. So when you would see the increment in the pattern, right? So if you go to cluster 2, right, or 3, so you would see that it would then chunk it up to the 4 kilobytes. And then on the lower right pane from the first cluster, you should see that there's NTFS, which indicates the formatted file system. So I'm going to go back to cluster 0, and you should see NTFS on the right side at the top there, because that would contain in the first cluster or the disk, which is cluster 0. Take a screenshot. Now we can go and look at the report, and then you can paste it. So view report, right? You can screenshot this. So it gives you general disk information like your volume, your serial number, bytes per sector, right? The number of clusters, sectors per cluster, all of these things. We don't have to manually dig out. The software is going to give that to us, right? Which is nice. And then it tells me that the list of files is located in this directory. It founds the bill of right.doc, right? Remember? It also gives you the hash, which is great, right? Some software you have to use its hash calculator, or you have to do it externally, but this one has it for the MD5. You need to indicate it on your written report, all of these things, right? Some screenshot, some information about the files that you found. So the report gives you some information about that, but it did not list all the files, right? Like the images, it did find the doc.
How did you get to report?
Click on view and then report. And you scroll down, you see the details. Hmm?
What's copy process interrupted?
Uh, it might be that it's not able to transport the whatever that it carved into text report for you. Uh, you can you have your project there, right? You can try to reopen the project by just open up the folder. So let's see if you can save the project first. So file, save project, and then you can try to reopen it. But maybe it's the app that's just failing.
I mean, I can like.
Well, maybe it's the occupied minutes. You can try to save the project. Sometimes, yeah, sometime free software students are kind of like.
Because I didn't know why your file I can into virtual box.
You already have it before, right?
I
Yes. Is it on your playlist right now? No, close that.
it's
Is it here?
it's
Here, right?
yeah, and it doesn't have ProDiscovery, so I can open this one, but I don't have
No, I'm saying so.
I can use this one.
Okay, so you can't add the ones that you copy over. Is that what you're telling me?
But I don't have ProDiscovery support.
No, it's.
I know. So the virtual machine that you currently have don't have ProDiscover, but did you copy the virtual machine from the disk over? The virtual machine from here, did you copy it over
Yeah,
onto your laptop?
Yeah,
But it's not loading, is that what you're telling me?
it's not issue when I open this.
Oh yeah, so go back to.
Yeah, I try some of them. Look, it's all the same.
Oh, you getting this in here? Where is it?
That's this.
So just screenshot it.
Oh,
So this one is a different one.
yeah, it's I cannot open this. I try
Oh, it's okay. So it's a software. So basically, it's maybe the file is corrupted when it transfer or something happens. So this is an address error.
but I try free
Have you tried running it from the disk itself? Let me see. Look at this game. So let's first get it up.
this one, this thing. This one. It's all this one. I all
Okay, so it did. Oh, I didn't even make it to the list.
yeah.
You know, these VMs are on my virtual, my Google Drive, right? That I shared. So let's see. Okay, so let's
Try them.
yeah. There's activated solution. So if you see when you run it on the machine, it's gonna have these folders. And it's gonna try to revert back to that state. That's assuming that if you're using the same system, it will be fine.
So we just
Yeah, so you have to delete the logs in the state of that file.
virtual book this one
Oh yeah, that could be incompatibility. What version are you running? Only if it's created in an older and opening newer.
this so
So, but you've used it before though, didn't you? On the last one, like, no, two labs ago.
2 lab ago I used the old one. It's okay, but this one I didn't have this for discovery. So
Okay, let me see if I have ProDiscover. Check on that.
this one.
Maybe you can run it on the school computer. Have you tried doing that? Hi.
Yes.
Log in and see if we can run it on the school computer. Well, you want to work on your laptop, but maybe it will run on your school computer. And then I'll figure out why it's not running. Or what you can do is you can install ProDiscover on the old 27.
Yes.
That's probably easier.
Yeah, that is.
Okay. I'll see if I have ProDiscover.
Are we supposed to do, let's see.
Yeah, see if you can make a quick image for it. It doesn't take very long. So try to do the steps. No, you're supposed to take its capture. That's why we mount it. We already did this step for 47, so you don't have to unmount it, right? You can skip 47. If you already plug in your USB, you can skip, which most of you did at the beginning. Skip that.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find ProDiscover. You can't just download it anywhere anymore. Maybe you can find it available online somewhere.
But it's take time to look.
Yeah, I had. Okay, I have. So, maybe I can help you find it. ProDiscover 6.5. So if you search for ProDiscover 6.5, you're gonna find the link. But if you search for ProDiscover, it's gonna take you to their pro software, whatever, right? You're gonna find this link and then you need to download this exe. But be careful when you're on this download page because they have other advertisement things. What I'll do is I can put the 6.5 onto my Google Drive. You have access to my Google Drive?
Yeah. Yes.
It's on the last lab. You know the Wireshark lab? The link is on there. But I can put a link on the
This unit
Unit 3. Yeah. Done? It's okay. I'll share the link on there. Give me a second. I have to find the folder where I had shared. Okay, let me throw the file on there. Let me see if Google's gonna complain. Okay, it's on there now. Let me see if I can share the folder. Okay, I'll put it on the Canvas page or the lab, this week lab. Yeah, lab 4. I'll put a link there right now. So you can, if you want, you can do it outside of here. Because we're running out of time. So I will add it to on top of the video, right? Here's my Google Drive for CIS. It's called Forensic Lab.
Just leave it. Or
Yeah, just put it on the desk there for me and then return the other drive as well. Oh, I don't know why it's not. There it is. It wasn't actively linked. Okay, it should work now.
do this Friday?
For my class, yes.
Okay. I try to assume I can do this at home.
You
Bring it back Friday?
I'm sorry?
Can I bring this? I do this at home?
Yeah, don't lose my drive. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna walk through that last step. So if you go to the lab 4, if you click this, it's gonna take you to my drive.
Yeah.
And you should see ProDiscover.msi. You just need to download that.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah, so you can install it on your laptop to run the lab itself, or you can run it through a virtual machine. You don't have to run it on the VM. The reason why I use VM is because we can't install stuff on the school computer.
Yes.
Yeah, so you should be able to.
So you don't, no, you don't need this, no, we just get download it from them. Yeah, download
So
from.
that's the
P-
one that you create.
Apply, and, P, the same.
Oh, it's already there, so it's okay. It's saying you can't load it. Click okay.
Yeah. What's-
Go down to the content view, which is just like what you did in the last. There you go. Just like what you did in the last step, right? You have to go to each view to see the content of the drive. So you successfully made an image from USB, right? And then now you are analyzing it.
We're just going over it again.
Yeah, but this one, I didn't give you an image. You made it yourself from the USB I gave you. Understand?
Yes.
You get it? So if you found a USB on the street, you don't open it up right away. You can use a software like this to see what's inside because it doesn't modify the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the police give you a USB and say, what's on this, right? Then that's what you do. You take an image of it and then you check on something.
It's like whether it's on it or anybody else touched it.
Yeah.
You don't want to modify it.
You need to know how to do that for our class project. Okay. Okay. So we need to know how to do the last few steps, right? That's important. You need to plug in your USB, which most of you have. You need to open a new project, just like how you started the other one. I'm not showing it on projector. And then you are going to create an image. This is how you can make an image, right? So, and then you are going to, so I gave you a USB. You have to investigate that USB, but first you have to make an image. Okay. And so you're going to put your name, all of that information. You wait 15 minutes then you're gonna go back and look at the USB. So if, let's say, the police department give you a USB to look at, you first create the image like the steps that's shown here. Okay, I'll do that real quick. And then we'll probably have to call it a day. So it tells me that I'm gonna make a new project. So file, new project. We'll save this one. And we're gonna name it our first official project. And we're gonna call it USB image. We have to know how to do this for our class project. So you can use ProDiscover or another software. And then the description, we want to put down the size. See you later. And you can put generic USB or whatever you want there, right? So once we have a new project, what we're going to do is we are going to click add, capture the add image. So the difference between the last section and this section is the last one you already were given an image. Now you have to make your own image out of the USB, right? Like if you found the USB and you have to go in and make an image before you can look into it. So click capture and add image. And then you're going to click the destination. We're going to put it into a folder, right? So we're going to do a drop down, select CIS27 USB drive. That's the drive that you have mounted. And then you are going to click the arrow to choose the local path. So source field, go here. You are going to click the drive E, right? Which is the small USB that I gave you. And then click the arrow for the destination, choose a local path. And then in this one, this is where our image is going to be. So you are going to follow the instruction. You're going to create a folder on the desktop. And on your desktop, it's going to be named Project 01 USB Investigation. So click desktop, right? Click the little new folder icon. And we're going to do USB investigation. So the more organized you are, the easier it's going to be. And then click open, right? And then the file that you are going to save, you have to name the file. So we're going to do project 01 USB investigation. So I put it in a folder and I put it on my desktop, and I would then have the image file. Now, you can put in your name and all of those. So I'll just put my initial and some description information and click OK. I have to select the image name. Okay, so we need to know how to do this for our project later. You can always refer to this lab, and then we're going to use other tools. So I want you to at least attempt all the way until creating the image, even if you're not able to analyze it. Were you successful?
Last word.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Any questions? So I would just proceed while I'll wait for everybody.
You could say the essence of cover related files.
Yeah, so you are able to carve out files based on the given image, right? And then the last part of the lab is for you to create an image out of a USB and carve the files out of that. That's officially what you really do in the field, is to create an image of a device and then look into it. That's how you do it. It's part C, right?
When we took this lab, let's say also the profile.
Yeah, so you can say file carving, right? You can say this image analysis using ProDiscover, right, to carve out files or, and this particular one is a Windows image, so, yeah. So P15 is an image that I have downloaded and used and give it to everybody because it's such a small image, but doing part C, you actually make your own image. So you can make any image depending on how much time you have, right? So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. For your USB?
Yeah. On just PDF and if we can be honest with this too, it has to.
EFT file. Oh, perhaps that he has added in that file. There's supposed to be 6. I only put 6 on there. So if you carve out 6, then you're good. If you put like the .zip or any other additional file from there, yeah, you should get only 6. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, so just take out.
So the larger your device storage, right, the more capacity in your USB, the longer you're gonna wait to create an image. So if you're looking at an iPhone or an Android, that's 256 megabyte. So the drive that you are given today by me, right, 128 megabyte. So you wait approximately what, 10 minutes or so, right? But and that's on the slow VM. So if you use a really powerful computer, it's much faster. But even with that, if you're looking at like, what is it, 256 gigabyte on the standard iPhone or an Android, prepare to go get dinner, watch a movie, and then come back. Seriously, and that's even that sometimes days. Okay. So forensic cannot be fast and easy. It will be a little harder and have patience.
That's why when they say, crash computer or it's like I had a person
If your drive is not, it's functions. Yeah. So some lab actually have drive, like if it's a hard drive, they have to take it apart. It has to be in a, because your drive is vacuum sealed. If it's hard drive, it's a clean environment. There's no dust. And then they have platter reader. Those machines are expensive. And so they would take the platter out and it reads the sector on the tracks. And they have the software tool to accumulate all of that. That's the price. That's what you pay for. But for most part, for most of us, when you're trying to do file recovery like this, when you're using some tool like this, right, they charge you based on the time that it takes time to make an image. You can get drive adapter, right? That plug in SATA drive, so you have to create a whole image of the computer. But you're right, it's part of the recovery file. But this is more on the forensic recovery files, not like the backup recovery files. So, yeah.
And then you said you have to want anyone.
Yeah, so I'll switch over to let me stop recording. I don't know this lab, I always have like a pause in between and it's long.
Will we have